receive. You sow, you reap what you sow. Action, reactions equal and opposite. Energy returns to its source of origination. If you're just going to give in this little area, that's probably all you're going to receive in just this little area. And that's a problem with most people. They get their good through the keyhole. You should open the doors and the windows and whoosh, let it flood in. No, really. You're dealing with abundance. Help everybody. I don't care whose line you're in. Now, when you do this, here, no, wait a minute. You've got to be careful. When you do this, you're going to be suspect. But it's always been the same. You just say forgive them. They don't know what they're saying. You let it upset you? No. I love what Charles said, Diana's brother. She said, goodness is threatening to people at the opposite end of the moral spectrum. But you know something? When you know, and it doesn't matter. You feel quite at home. You want to go out and help everybody. And I guarantee you, everybody will want to help you. You just got to believe. We take a look here. There's a marvelous opportunity. Down the bottom of page 4, think of how the world's changed. There are hundreds of thousands of people walking the streets today. They went to school. Now think, they're programmed to do this. This was logical. This was the thing to do. They went to school. They worked hard. They studied long hours. They graduated right at the top of their class. They secured employment with a major blue-chip company, and they bought into the promise that just about every major corporation was offering. If you give us loyalty, we'll give you security. What a bunch of jazz that is. They couldn't give security. Security is an inside thing. If you haven't got it there, you haven't got it. 20 years later, as these loyal, misguided individuals stood proudly towards the top of their corporate ladder, shouldering responsibility for big mortgages and small children, the corporate paradigm shifted. The ladder was yanked out from underneath them, and they found themselves standing on the street, bruised, demoralized, unemployed, and in a state of shock. Is there a problem? You bet there is. It's called paradigms. 90-some% of the population keep getting the same results year in, year out. This is as true for the student in school as it is for the person in business. If there's an improvement in the performance of most people, it's generally minimal. Just a blip on the screen and not enough to make any substantial difference in a person's life. Is there a problem? You bet there is. You've got no idea the opportunity in this. When you see it, you're going to grasp it. Do you want to know something strange? I think I've only become aware of it in truth in the last 2 or 3 months. It was Linda's business. She asked me to help, I'd help. But if Bo asked me to help, I'd help. If Mike asked me to help, I'd help. If Al or you or somebody else, I'd help. That's true. You see, we get caught up in this, and we've got to understand that there's something pretty phenomenal going on in this industry, and in this company in particular. And I was talking to one David Dubas people, and what he and Barb did down in Indianapolis over the past couple of weeks was just spectacular. It really was. They went platinum from nowhere. And same as Mark Lowe in Toronto. And Dave got this one guy on the phone with me, and I said, well, look it. He's one of the top guys in Century 21. He said, well, I don't know if I really want to be a NECAN. He said, but I understand you have a mentoring program. And I said, no, I had one, but I don't have one anymore. Well, he said, would you mentor me? And I said, sure. He said, what would it cost? And I said, nothing. I said, now you property capitalize your business and I'll mentor you, because you'll be a NECAN. I said, this is a bit of a paradox. If you phoned our office and wanted to hire me, it would cost you at least $10,000 an hour. And for a mentoring program, well, we started it out at $12,500, and we sold it too fast, so then we moved it up to $15,000. We still sold it too fast, so we moved it to $25,000. And We had rich people in Europe pay me $35,000 a week just to sit in their yacht and talk to them. But I didn't like doing it. And I don't want to do something I don't like, so I quit. But I told this guy, I said, if you phone the office and hire me, it costs you a lot of money. If you're a Nikan, it doesn't cost you anything. Well, you know, I'm not even sure if I understand that. But apparently, it's the way Linda wanted it to work, so. She makes the rules. I asked her where she got them. She said, from Bo. I said, who told Bo? She said, Mike. I said, where'd Mike get it? Bruce. Who told Bruce? Bob. Who told them? Alan Reed. I said, get these guys on the phone. Listen. Flip over to the next page. I'm going away. Here, understand this. Paradigms are nothing but other people's habits that you've inherited, and they control you. Now, when you lock into a goal, we want to flip these fast because the clock is running. What you want to do is begin to act on them immediately, flamboyantly, no exceptions. I've talked to some people, and they said to me that it was going to happen down the road. You do it right now, right this second. Because you see, you don't have to be out there. You don't have to be home. When you start inside. And you can start inside when you're sitting on a toilet, flying in an airplane, in the car, or right here in this auditorium. This is when you do it. That's what Mike did. Mike sat in the Science of Getting Rich seminar. He needed 1,000 silvers, but he said, in May, I am going to be a royal diamond on the 27th of September. He had no concept of how he was going to do it. Hillary didn't know how he was going to get to the top of the mountain. That's not your job. Your job is to decide what's going to be done. God's job is to dictate how it'll be done. And he knows we're not too quick, so he only gives us one step at a time. But you want to understand this. When you get an idea, ideas are alive. They're very alive, and they grow. And they grow inside of you. And as they grow inside of you, that causes you to grow. Your whole consciousness shifts. Your world changes. It's never the same again. You go home from here, and your family's going to be different. You know what you're going to be acutely aware of is just how negative most of the world is. Oh, you will. And you'll be so glad that you're free. Free at last. That's inside. When you're choosing a goal, if it doesn't scare you, it's no good. And that's real. That isn't just a cute phrase. You see, feeling is conscious awareness of vibration. All right? If you're choosing something that you're in harmonious vibration with, you're going to go sideways. You're not going to go that way at all. Anyone who has ever done anything of any consequence scared the daylights out of themselves. I remember one time sitting on the side of the bed and saying to Linda, I know I'm on the right track. She said, what do you mean? I said, because this goal really scares me. And it causes me to have a lot of doubts. So you're saying, you get scared and you have doubts? You bet. Probably more than most people, because I'm always wandering into an area I've never been. And every time I do, people are, what are you doing? You know, you can't do this. You get out of the way. I'm doing, you know. You see? I'll lay you odds, nowhere in the world are you going to find Nikan meetings like you find right here. You won't. Now, I have not gone to them all. I did not go to Hilton Head. My attitude, what am I going to Hilton Head for? You go to Hilton Head. It's your business. But I went to Orlando, and I went to Denver, And I've watched it change just in a couple of events. How many have been in Orlando and Denver and then here? Pull up your hand. In Maui. Now, do you want to know the sad part about this? It's not negative, it's sad. Is that there aren't more hands up. Because where were all the people that were in Maui, Orlando, and Denver? You see? Now think. What we want to do is we want to make them aware of it. And the best way to do that is lead the way. Talking about it is not good enough. You've got to demonstrate it. It's like that poem, I'd rather see a sermon than hear one any day. You know? Well, you got to go back and show them. And I'm going to give you an opportunity to do that before we're finished. And your old paradigm's going to kick up hell with you. Now look it. When you get down to the goals, you're going on ABC. You look on page 7. The A line is what you're used to. That is the most natural thing in the world for you to do. Some of you that are not silver yet, you say, well, I'm going to try in October. That isn't good enough. You've got to demand of yourself that you go silver in October. That's an entire month. Now, there's lots of you that got 5,000 and 10,000 in. You got to go this month. See? I watched a few silvers being broke yet in the last couple of days. Where's Michel Martin? Where is he? Where is he? Stand up. I want you to give him a hand. All right? I only met him about, I don't know, a week, 2 weeks ago. And I told him, I said, what you have learned in the last few days, it's going to be invaluable all the days of your life. He did something I know he didn't think he could do. I know he didn't. But Mike was there supporting him. I helped support him. And I watched him wonder. He was scared. He was damn near ready to cry out there in the lobby. I watched him. He was just full of fear. But he kept going. And that's what you got to do. If ever a person earned platinum, boy, he did. And he got it. And you can't take it away from him. Okay? Now, he did not do what he thought he could do, and that's what most people do. They get inspired, and they say, yeah, I'm going to change. I'm going to change. And then they sit, wonder what I can do. I wonder what I could do. I watched a cousin of mine that just came into business the other day. And she wants to go silver this month. And so she made her decision here yesterday. She was going silver. And she was talking to a cousin of her husband's, Jimmy. Jimmy was talking to somebody that knew nothing about Nican. They turned Jimmy off. Jimmy was ready to roll. So Linda was telling me, she didn't even tell me, Linda told me. She got on the phone last night. And when Jimmy knew it was her on the phone, he wouldn't come to the phone. And she told Lena, his wife, I am not getting off that phone until he comes to the phone. When she got off the phone, he said, okay, I'm ready. That's acting right now. How many of you phoned since you've been here? Have you made a decision like that? She doesn't know enough about this business, but she's doing it. She doesn't have to know enough. Linda's there supporting her. Bo's there supporting her. Mike's there supporting her. Look it. You've got to go after what you truly want. You've got to ask yourself, when you're setting a goal, here's the deal. You've got to ask yourself, what do you truly want? Not what you think you can get. What do you want? Napoleon Hill put it very well. He said, you wouldn't be able to see it if you couldn't get it. Don't worry about what your organization looks like. I like the way Price Pritchett put it. He said, the absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Quit looking at your physical organizational chart, your circles or squares. Quit looking at your bank account. What do you want? You can have anything you want. All you have to do is ask. It's written, before you speak, I'll hear you. The second you say you want, you got the image of it in here. What do you want? I remember back around 1961, I put Earl Nightingale's Strangest Secret on. He said, if you can tell me what you want, I can show you how to get it. And I thought, God, if this guy knows what he's talking about, I've really got a hold of something. I was unhappy, I was sick, I was broke, I was confused, and I had been that way all my life. I was 26. I hated being a little kid. I wasn't a happy teenager, and I had been like that all my life. And I thought, if he knows, he knew. And I can tell you now, if you can tell me what you want, I can show you how to get it. I've got license to brag about every idea I share with you because none of them are mine. But if you study the same subject for 37 years, even if you're a little slow, you're going to learn a lot. And after listening to Earl for a number of years, I decided I'm going to work with him. I woke up one morning and I just left the business I was in, and I went to Chicago, and I worked with him for 5 years. And I got an office right beside his office. I would have worked for them. I was prepared to pay them to let me work there. I just wanted to watch him. And I watched him. And I got the books he read. And I studied the people he studied. And I studied him. If you want to win, study the winners. Get your ego out of the road. Understand there's no such thing as competition. That's an old-fashioned game. That's with the old economy. This is the new economy. There's no competition. Competition and creation are polar opposites. I don't care what anybody tells you. You've got to go after what you want. And when you go after what you want, it may start out as a fantasy. That's where everything started. Nikan was nothing but a fantasy, and Masuda's mine. You see, I know the guy that Masuda worked for before he ever started this company. He was a mentor of mine. I study his material. I know where it is. It's in a ranch at Clear Lake Oaks, California, and I've got access to the ranch because Jane Wilhite owns it. She's a good friend of mine, and she lets me into the library, and I get into all those films. I'm going up there to work a class in a couple of weeks, and I'm going to get her to make a tape. And I'm going to get the tape for Net Tools, and Net Tools will be able to sell it to you for the guy that Masuda used to work for. Now, if you want to see something, you want to see this guy speak. He's been dead since 1973. But the videotape, it's alive. It's so good. And he tells you on that tape, don't let anybody steal your dream. Don't you go back and let somebody steal your dream. What you want is your dream. You lay claim to it. God give you the ability to do that. Well, don't mess around. Ask yourself what you really want. You don't have to know how to get it. Now flip over to the next page for a moment. I listened to Dave Rolfe here stand here this morning and say, this is a serious business. Well, let me tell you something. I've been working for corporate America for some of the largest corporations in the world for a long time. As a matter of fact, I got on the elevator the other day, and there's a young lady on the elevator, and she said, I was at one of your seminars, and it had to be 15 years ago, and in Boston, because I haven't been in Boston for doing seminars for a long time. And she said, I was with Prudential. I said, who'd you work for? And she named two names. Joe Gebbia was one. I said, it was Joe Gebbia, because I worked for Joe Gebbia. There's some other people here who work for Joe Gebbia, and Joe Gebbia is still a VP down in Jacksonville. You know, as I think about that, something flashed in my mind. I made a breakthrough in one of those seminars. We were in the Sheraton Center in Boston, and I had earned $250,000 in a day. And it just totally spun my head around. I've studied this subject. Anyone can earn a lot of money. And you know something? Our paradigm does not want us to even think about it. Do you know that we're programmed in such a way that when you start to think about money, you get a very uncomfortable feeling. Many times it's a feeling of guilt. And that's because you've been programmed to believe there's something wrong with it. But your intellect knows there's nothing wrong with it. So we've got a mental conflict. It's what you call, the psychiatrist here will tell you, it's a double-binding message we've got going in here. We've got on a conscious level, there isn't anything wrong with it. On a subconscious level, there's something wrong with it. And you don't feel comfortable even talking to you about it. And whenever you talk about it, the automatic response is, it won't make you happy. That's a dumb statement. It's not supposed to make you happy. It's supposed to make you comfortable. At least if you're miserable, you can be comfortable. There's some consolation in having it. Money is meant to make you more effective. Money's meant to make you comfortable. When I went to bed last night here in wherever we are, there was someone on the other side of the world going to the seminars that I conduct, because they were just getting up. There are people throughout Australia and throughout Malaysia and throughout Singapore and Brunei and Madras and India going to a seminar I conduct. And because they're going to the seminar, I earn money. And you know what that gives me the ability to do? To make more seminars, to do it somewhere else. We had all kinds of stuff translated into a number of different languages, and it was broadcast from Belgrade television set throughout the communist bloc countries while all the wars were going on. What are you capable of doing? When I was sitting in the fire hall, somebody had suggested that I thought they'd just fallen out of a tree. You don't know what you're capable of doing. I like what Waddell says. A person's right to life, we're on page 6 or 8. A person's right to life means their right to have the free and unrestricted use of all the things which may be necessary to his fullest mental, spiritual, and physical unfolding. In other words, his right to be rich. Just see, the Nikan compensation plan is in harmony with the new economy. It's in harmony with God's laws. It should keep getting better and better and better. Before, we were paid on nepotism and favoritism and what we knew. If you knew a lot, you got paid a lot. Didn't matter what you did. Doesn't work that way anymore. Now you get paid for what you do. And have you noticed the people that are earning the most are probably the ones that are doing the least now? You know why? They set up a causation that just doesn't stop. I sat yesterday and I watched Dave Johnson. Some of you think Dave's not very smart. He's probably one of the most brilliant men that walked into the building. He's got many people in here convinced he's not very bright. He's got this simple, homespun way of just planting some of the most beautiful concepts in your brain that you've ever heard. And I know where he got them, because he gave me the books. Now let's take a look here. There's 3 strategies for earning money. I only got about 5 minutes left. This is too bad, because I really wanted to do this. M1 is where you trade time for money. It's a false concept. It's based upon ignorance. You can't trade anything for money. Money is not a physical commodity that you trade for. But that's what people try to do. As a matter of fact, 96% of the population try and do it. It will not work. They remain poor all their life, regardless of their potential. M2. It's a great strategy if you're any good at it. There's only 3 people out of 100 that understand it or do it. That's where you trade money, or you invest money to earn money. Now, M3 is Nikan's compensation plan. It is the best strategy in the world for earning money. There's no limit to what you can earn. However, only 1% of the population understand it, but they earn 96% of all the money. This is where you multiply your time through the efforts of others. I sat over there chatting with Dave while somebody's up here, and I looked across the audience, and I said, "They're all under you, aren't they?" And he said, "Yeah." In the big circle in the center, put PSI. PSI. Right in the bottom of page 8, PSI. In the little circles out around the side, put MSI. In all the little circles. PSI stands for primary source of income. That's your job. That's how you spend your days. MSI stands for multiple sources of income. I call it mailbox money. Here the other day, Linda brought the mail in. She opened it up. There was 4 checks. They were for various different amounts, from 20-some thousand to a few hundred. But I thought it was rather interesting. There's 4 of them. Number checks come in all the time. You should just keep them coming. You can have as many as you want. You can set up as many MSIs as you want. Now, the beautiful part about this, when you introduce a person to this way of life, and that's what it is, it's a way of life. It's a healthy, law-abiding way of life. You set up an MSI factory, because that is one MSI that just keeps setting up MSIs. It's a breeding post. It would make rabbits look impotent. It just keeps going and going and going. Now, that's how you multiply your time through the efforts of others, by setting up MSIs. Now look over in the next page. We say a global opportunity, but they say they're in 20 countries. By the turn of the century, what are they going to be, in 40 or 50 or something like that? All over the world. I'll guarantee it's going to get better. It's just going to keep getting better. People say, well, it couldn't be any better. Oh, yes, it can. It can be perfect. Everything once was perfect. We're returning to a point that once was. We may not live to see it all happen, but we can enjoy what we do see. Now, if you're going to present this, I'll tell you how I do it. I invoke the law of relativity. I start at the top and work to the bottom. I write in RD, Royal Diamond. I'll tell them why Nican, why now, but before you can understand why Nican, you better understand just a little bit about Nican. And I'm going to explain the part that you're probably most interested in, but won't talk about. It's compensation plan. Now, under RD, you put Royal Diamond. Under the D, or beside the D, you put Diamond. Beside the P, of course, you put Platinum. Beside Platinum, you put Gold. And under Gold, you put Silver. Now, let's put some numbers beside this. Beside the Silver, put $2,000. Beside Gold, put $5,000. Beside Platinum, put $15,000. Beside Diamond, put $50,000. And beside Royal Diamond, put $150,000. Now, please understand, these are not averages. They're not highs. They're not lows. These are numbers that a lot of people earn that apply themselves to this business. Now, if you're talking about a new source of income, these would be excellent annual figures, but they're monthly figures. Now, if you go to the Royal Diamond, I know some there that are earning $250. Some diamonds, I talked to Mike here a month ago, he told me you earned $76,000. I said, what was your overhead? He said, 15%. You talk to any person with any kind of business acumen at all, they'll tell you that if you took in $76,000 volume in any business and you had a 15% profit, you'd have been happy with that in the camera business, I'll bet, Bruce. You'd have been very happy with that in the camera business. But to have a 15% overhead, have no office, and they're paying for his house and his phone and his car and God knows what all else, you know, the biggest trouble you have is getting people to believe it. Now, why Nican? I'll tell you why Nican. It's on the bottom. It's called balance. You see, it's vitally important that you get satisfaction in life. That's what should come from your primary source of income. That's how you spend your days. Work's not made for us. We're not made for work. Work is made for us. We should be doing something that gives us enormous pleasure. That's how we should spend our days. I find it rather interesting that I can be so well compensated for doing what I love to do, because I absolutely love this. I'm going to do this till I die because I love it. You should do what you love to do with your days. If you love looking after your kids, that's what you should do, is look after the kids. You love playing golf, go play golf. Get satisfaction out of how you spend your days. You don't have to sacrifice income, though. On the other side of the teeter-totter is the material income. And that's the money you earn. Now, most people, if they're getting a high psychic income, they're getting a low material income. They may be teachers and love to teach, but they're not earning any money. Let's suppose they're earning a lot of material income. They're earning all kinds of money, but they're getting no satisfaction. They don't even like the people they're with. They'll say, but I can't quit. I need the money. You know what we got? Nican's got balance. When you understand the business, that's what you get. That's why Nican, and that's why now. And you know when you make a decision? Right now. Over the next page. Just flip over quick. We're talking about attitude. God, I wish I had more time. We go into attitude, we're talking about all three parts of our personality. It's everything about us. It's really everything about us. I was going to take time to explain this, but I've got to be on air in 7 minutes. Maybe they'll wait. All right. Look at the top of page 11. U.S. Anderson says, nothing is impossible to the mind. All its guidance and power are available to you. When you fully realize that thought causes all, you'll know there's never any limits that you yourself do not impose. Just so good. People say that attitude's nebulous, it's ambiguous, you can't explain it. That's not true, you can't explain it. We give you a special offer on the Born Rich program. You had to borrow money to buy it. You should borrow money. We had Malaysia Airlines researched 100 programs because they were experiencing a tremendous shift. They put 10,000 people through that program. They said it was the most effective program that they could find. There's people in this audience. Carolyn Bond told me that woke her up. She was just sitting in Nican doing nothing. She says it turned her on, it made her alive, and she just became a platinum. What's it worth? You can't put a price on education. On the 21st and the 20th and 21st of November, I am going to go and pay a man $2,000 just to sit and talk to him for 2 days. In my opinion, he's the greatest public speaker to ever live. His name's Bill Gove. He's 85 years old. He was one of the first speakers I ever heard. He's like the patron saint of public speakers. Now, I've been speaking for 30 years. But you know what I know? I know that I don't know everything there is to know. And you know what I know? If he just teaches me one little thing to do to make me more effective, that $2,000 is going to be nothing. Absolutely nothing. Flip over, you've got to be persistent. There's some rules there for making persistence. Mark Lowe, that works with me, is one of the most persistent guys I've ever met in my life. He's like a heat-seeking missile. When he gets an idea in his mind, he just locks right into it. And he does not let go. You go over the last page, we're talking about decision. Now we say there's a single mental move you can make, which in a millisecond will solve enormous problems for you. Let the past go. Let it go. There's a name for this mental activity. It's called decision. Make a decision that you're going to change right now. Quit worrying about what you didn't do. I like the way Wayne Dyer puts it. He says, you shouldn't have done anything. Come over on the next page. Here's 4 questions to ask yourself. Do I want to be, do, or have this? Do I want to be, do, or have this? Whenever you're trying to make a decision, will being, doing, or having this move me in the direction of my goal? Yes, being, doing, or having this in harmony with God's laws or the laws of the universe? If the answer to those 3 questions is yes, and the answer to this next question is no, make the decision and do it. Will being, doing, or have this violate the rights of others? Now, you don't ask yourself if you can afford it. The second you make the decision, Mike made the decision, I'm going Royal Diamond. He didn't know how. He did it. I know people that have decided, I'm buying a house. They didn't have any money. They didn't need any money until they made the decision. Once they made the decision, they got it. Seek ye first this kingdom, the kingdom of expansion, and all these things will be given to you. Whatever things are necessary for the manifestation of the image. That's the deal. That's the law. It doesn't matter whether you understand it or not. It still works. We flip over the next page just for a second. We put a thing there on the science of getting rich. It's the most incredible program I've ever been involved with. We say, imagine it's just a decision around the middle of the page. That's right. You're only a decision away from making the mind-money connection. That decision is totally, entirely, and absolutely yours and yours alone. Nobody can do it for you. When you go to make a decision, I tell the audience when I'm talking to them about Nican or anything else, you shouldn't even look sideways. Don't go and ask anybody else what they think you should do. Odds are they don't think, but they'll always give you an opinion. Ask yourself, what should I do? Ask those 4 questions. I guarantee you'll say, do it. You've got everything in you. Emerson said, follow the quiet voice from within that's telling you which way to go. Emerson said something else that's interesting for our industry. He says the doctor of the future will use no medicine. Think about that for a little while. Now, I'm going to suggest you take a serious look at that Born Rich program. You can take and educate your downline with that program. It is the most incredible program. We spend hundreds of thousands of dollars shooting it. It's a Hollywood production. We had cameras all over the place. You'd think we were shooting an NBA basketball game. That's right. It's phenomenal material. It's what I learned over a 25-year period, and we captured it all on video and audio. You have on your seat, somewhere on your seat, an application form for San Diego. Now, I'm going to tell you what the reality of the whole deal is. So far as my understanding is concerned. I could be a little off on this, but I don't think so. There are 4 people, the Kiernans and the Nelsons, that front this thing. They've got hundreds of thousands of dollars on the line. Some of you never paid until you walked through that door. Have you any idea the position that put them in? Now, we can solve that position. If you don't register for this, you'd be making a terrible error. You make up your mind now. Somebody's saying, well, I don't know if I can get the time off work. You go in and tell them you're not going to be there. The people at work are not in control of your life. If you do nothing else at this conference, take control of your own life. Quit letting other people's behavior, decisions, thinking control you. You decide, I am going to be in San Diego. I am going to be in San Diego. How many are going to be in San Diego? Stand up. Come on, get on your feet. Okay, now, hold on. Stay on your feet. Stay on your feet. I want you to listen. Listen carefully. I want you to show them how much you respect what they're doing if you have to use somebody else's card and give it back to them to register in this. Register now. It's going to make San Diego a breeze. It's going to be good for you. It's going to be good for them. It's in harmony with God's laws, and we'll all win. All right? I wished I had a lot more time to talk, because I sure would like to explain that better. I am going to come back when I get off the phone. But here, now listen for a second. Follow the rules for making a decision. Make a decision you're going to lock into a program that's going to develop your mind. The Born Rich program will do that. The Science of Getting Rich program will do that. Make up your mind you're going to all the Team Diamond events. Linda has made that decision that she's going to all the Team Diamond events. She made it a long time ago. She told me about it. And she gets everybody in her organization to make the same decision. Now, I'm going to tell you the best way to help them make the decision is you make one. And when you go back, say, let's make this decision now, and make it to all your people. San Diego should be sold out before next Friday. Literally. I'm going to tell you, you'll make this as something that everybody will want to go to. This is the premier event in Nikan. Have you any idea how many new pins be broke after this every time? Linda and I were talking about this. They go back and they're charged, and away they go, full of enthusiasm. How many of you have read the Born Rich book? Well, on the last chapter, I dedicate it to my Aunt Marg. When she first started to study this material, they were as poor as church mice. Today, they're worth a few $1 million. About 10 days ago, she became a Nikan distributor. Nightingale, geez, there's an old concept. A Nikan distributor. And now, just a minute. And she got a group of people that she knew, including her own daughter, in her kitchen. And she said, this is what I'm doing. I want you all to do the same thing. She's not doing it because she needs the money. She's doing it because she thinks this is a phenomenal idea. And she is silver, just since last week. And I'll guarantee you another thing, her daughter will be silver before Monday. Where is Aunt Marg? In the back row. She's way back at the back, way. A phenomenal lady, all right? Thank you very much.
Mr. Bob Proctor. Wonderful.